Since the first moment of Russia's war in Ukraine, Vladimir Putin has been holding the West at nuclear gunpoint. Now, he's deploying tactical nuclear weapons to Belarus, which would enable him to strike Kyiv or Western Europe with virtually no warning. This is no doubt intended as a deterrent to Ukraine, NATO and their allies ahead of a counterattack that they hope will crush Putin's army once and for all. But it also risks alienating Putin's new best friend Xi Jinping and backing Russia into a dangerous corner. This is how an increasingly desperate Kremlin is using the threat of atomic armageddon to try and save Putin's skin, and how it could all end up backfiring on him. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more videos like this on the ongoing war in Ukraine. Russia has the world's largest stockpile of nuclear warheads, with an estimated 6,000 of them stashed in secret locations across the country. And it has a dizzying array of weapons to use them with. From long-range bombers, to submarines, hypersonic missiles, and gigantic long-range rockets known as ICBMs. The Kremlin even claims to be in possession of a nuclear torpedo named Poseidon, designed to trigger a radiation-laced tsunami capable of wiping out entire countries. Last month, Putin said he will move some of Russia's tactical nukes to Belarus, meaning smaller weapons that are designed to take out troop formations or military bases. He claimed 10 Belarusian bombers have already been adapted to carry the bombs, and that Belarus has been supplied with Iskander missiles, which can be given nuclear tips. A base to store the nuclear warheads is being built at the moment and will be finished in July, Putin claimed, though he did not say when the nukes would actually arrive there. Officially, Putin's reason for moving the weapons is to safeguard dictator Alexander Lukashenko, who has supported his war in Ukraine but has refused to be directly involved. Russia has always said it would use nukes to defend itself from an attack, and placing the weapons in Belarus suggests it would do the same if Lukashenko was threatened. The nukes will also help protect Russian troops and equipment which have been stationed in the country since the start of the war in neighbouring Ukraine. But the move is also about messaging. Justifying himself, Putin said putting Russia's nukes in Belarus is no different to the US putting its own nukes in the likes of Germany, Belgium, Italy and Turkey. The not-so-subtle message from Moscow to Washington being, see how you like it when we do it. And it is perhaps no coincidence that the announcement came just as Russia's winter offensive in Ukraine is petering out and as Ukraine ramps up for a counterattack. Having weathered Russia's assaults in the Donbass for months, Ukraine is now expected to launch an offensive within weeks to try and crush Putin's army. The ultimate goal will be retaking Crimea, which most analysts see as vital to Putin's survival and which they fear he could try to defend with nukes. While Russia was always able to nuke Ukraine from its own territory, putting the weapons in Belarus means they will be much closer to Kyiv. That means Russia could mount a nuclear attack on the Ukrainian capital much quicker, and it would be much harder to stop. Putin may be hoping that this threat forces Ukraine to think twice, and possibly to begin peace talks before trying to take the peninsula. Likewise, it also acts as a deterrent to Poland, Lithuania and Latvia, all of whom are NATO members and all of whom have a border with Belarus. They are among Ukraine's strongest allies, and Putin may be hoping that additional nukes so close to their borders prompts them to think twice about future support for Kyiv. The fact that Putin now needs to resort to this kind of nuclear saber-rattling underlines just how badly his war in Ukraine has gone. Before the invasion, his army was widely regarded as the second best in the world, and he leveraged that reputation to throw his weight around. But now, his military has been shown to be a paper tiger, and he needs a different kind of threat to ensure he gets his way. Unlike his army, we don't yet know whether Putin's nukes work, and so we have no choice but to act like they do. Putin knows this, and that is why he has been using the threat to keep NATO out of the war and to hamper weapons deliveries to Kyiv. It is fair to say that, if it weren't for nukes, Russia may have already lost the war, and Putin may have already fallen from power. But nuclear saber-rattling is not without risks for Moscow itself. Russia is dangerously short on allies on the world stage and is now hugely reliant on China's Xi Jinping for both moral and financial support. Beijing has repeatedly said that nuclear threats are unacceptable, and on a recent trip to Moscow, Xi and Putin agreed that the weapons should not be sent overseas. Just 4 days later, Putin said he was sending them to Belarus. That risks frustrating Beijing, which is trying to play the international peacemaker and could put pressure on Russia to sign a treaty that favors Ukraine. Putin is also painting himself into a corner. Nuclear threats only work because his enemies believe he really would launch one if he were pushed into it. Each time he talks of Armageddon but doesn't follow through, the threat loses some of its power. Sooner or later, he could talk himself into a position where the only option is to press the big red button or else risk a catastrophic collapse of credibility. At best, that could make Russia a pariah state, and at worst could spark a nuclear war with NATO that would wipe his country off the map entirely. Putin is betting that Russia's nukes are the safeguard that means he can never be forced from power. But unless he is extremely careful, they could end up hastening his downfall. For more videos like this on the ongoing war in Ukraine, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel.